Okay, we are recording. Brian, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm sitting in my little studio office type thing. Where are you sitting? It looks like are you indoors?
New York City. Uh,
Nice,
yeah, no, I'm just in my apartment in the East Village, Manhattan, where I've lived for 15 years. And
lovely.
this is where we've made like almost all of our music in like 80 square foot spare room, the closet guest room hybrid.
Love it.
and
Love it.
right now we're like practicing in my living room with a little like electronic drum kit and getting ready for tour.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, we will no doubt be talking all about your music as this episode unfolds. But before we do anything, I need you to get your playlist started, and I need you to tell me the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
Yes, that would be this is like a recent pickup for me, but I think it's a song called Rainbow Chaser by Nirvana, but not the Nirvana you're thinking. I think they might be British. But it's yeah, I'm surprised there's no conflict there, but
There was.
there was.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I mean, I'm really old, so like I was in my prime when Nirvana were happening, and the Seattle Nirvana, and obviously when they come to the sort of the forefront of the world, there was the other Nirvana. We're like, hang on a minute, what about us?
Yeah,
Like we're
yeah.
Nirvana. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of stuff going on back in the early '90s for sure.
If it was 2024, they would have put like an at sign from one of the A's.
Yeah. Um, I mean, explain a little bit to the listeners about because the sound of this is far removed from the other Nirvana. Erase any thoughts of that from your mind, but give people a sort of insight as to what that intro delivers.
Well, it's just like it's kind of it's in like a paradigm of something that like I think about like a lot, which is that like there's like a lot of influence in our band from like kind of Motown soul stuff, and a lot of those songs have intros that have nothing to do with the rest of the song and are just like I feel like they're almost like little pieces of music that were probably made by the session musicians. Like they're jamming and they just come up with something cool and they're like, "Oh, put that at the beginning." And then they play the song that was
Yeah,
written by like some guy in New York. And those are always like I'm always like this song is going to be amazing. And then like it drops into something kind of normal.
yeah,
And we always like we've talked about that in the early band where like what if we just tried to write a song where the whole song is like that little bit that happens at the beginning of these songs. And that's like been something that we think about a lot, but there's so many of them, and this is like one of those things where the beginning is like, whoa, I've never heard a piece of music like this before. And then it kind of gets the song is actually awesome all the way through, but it kind of gets more normal like right after that and switches gears like completely. And that's something that you don't really see in modern music very
yeah.
often. It does happen, but it's like and honestly not even in our music. But yeah, so much of our music is like centered around the idea of like trying to make music that sounds like it was made with samples, but just make it, like the in our own way. So yeah, I guess this is a good reference of that.
I was really interested in when you were saying about you've got this, you'd like to sort of experiment with the idea of like getting that good bit, but making the whole song that little good bit.
Yeah.
And do you think that's something that's very much kind of used in like maybe in more sort of commercial pop music now? Because with the record labels and such putting pressure on artists to utilize things like TikTok and the importance now of rather than getting on the radio, getting on the right Spotify playlist. And you with these shortening attention spans, which seems to be a thing, you have only got X amount of time to grab them. And does that sort of thing play on your mind or influence your creativity at all?
Well, it's funny because I've noticed that, like, especially with people, like, grabbing for it's kind of like grabbing for the headline, like they're just putting, like, I've noticed that people are starting to sample songs that started with a sample. you know
Right.
like people are like sampling like Notorious B.I.G. beats that like sample the Isley Brothers.
Yeah.
Like it's all starting to like roll up, and it's so much based on, I mean, all the movies now are like remakes and references and nostalgia, and I think it's really hard to cut through all the noise. So if you can get something that makes people be like, I know that it
Yeah.
triggers
Yeah.
something in the brain, and I think people are being um pressured to do that. But yeah, I don't know. I think like that it really is like, there's no novelty and originality, and where do they cross paths, you
Yeah.
know? Because sometimes something can be like so kind of ear catching and strange, and it can be really cool and new, and sometimes it feels a little like it doesn't have long, like you're like, is this going to work for the whole song, and so and
Totally.
usually the answer is no. I actually heard, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that like that song Savage by Megan Thee Stallion
Yeah.
started as like a 15-second clip of like several 15-second clips that they made for like social media, and then
Wow.
when it got popular they turned it into a song. And if that's not true, it like feels true, you know
Yeah.
and like
That's great.
it could be like a weird future where people are like fishing with
Yeah.
like with hooks and then seeing what catches and then making the song.
That's
And
incredible.
it's pretty bizarre.
Okay, Brian, tell me the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please.
um this was tricky for me, but then I thought that it might as well be Needle in the Hay by Elliott Smith. There definitely was earlier ones, like my one of the few records that my mom and I could agree on listening to was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and that was like what I listened to so much as a kid, and I loved it. But I like I moved around a lot as a kid, so I like when the funny stat is that like I didn't go to the same school for more than a year after third grade. So I was used to like mixing it up, meeting new people, and when I was in sixth grade, I went to a new school, and there was like a kid there who she was wearing like black earrings and like black like bracelets and stuff, and like just I had never seen someone like dressed and presented like she was presenting herself. And I went up to her, I was like, what's your deal? And she was like, I'm emo. I was like, what is that? And she burned me like a mix CD, and on it was Elliott Smith, and like that was the beginning. Like I think like 4 months later, I like traded my surfboard for a guitar, and like got some new shoes and stuff, and we ended up being like really good friends for a long time. And up until then, I'd like kind of just thought of music as something you put on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'd watch MTV, and I'd get into whatever was playing. And but that was like when I would like that was the beginning of like the headphone era,
Yeah.
where I would just like take walks at night and smoke one of my mom's cigarettes and like listen to Elliott Smith and Joy Division and be like, whoa. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's still like such a like powerfully sad song, especially
Yeah.
for a growing mind.
Absolutely. You mentioned Crosby, Stills, music that you'd agree with with your mum. Was home quite a musical environment growing up then?
No, I mean, in a way, yes. Like my mom would like sing in like church choir and stuff, and they like she loves music, but like that was not like a they wouldn't really play, and a lot of the music that they would like was just like popular music. You know, we listened to a lot of Bon Jovi, like Rolling Stones, Sheryl Crow, very like normal, like kind of like fun music vibe, not like heavy. Like
Yeah.
my bandmate Madeline, like, you know, her mom was like in the art world and represented like Dee Ramone, and was very much in the New York scene, and like her stepdad played in White Zombie, and like, you know, she would like know, like she was, and her brother was in a band too, so she was like deep in it. And when we met, like she was almost kind of like anti that, or like afraid to do it, because it was such like well-worn territory in her
Yeah.
family, and I had like no experience in it, and I was like, this is super cool. So we're
Tell,
like a little bit opposites.
tell me a little bit about when you said that you changed schools a lot and moved around a lot. Um, did that help you develop confidence, or did it knock your confidence? Having to kind of develop friends, leave them, go and be the new kid again. Like, you know, how
Yeah,
was that for you?
it's funny because I think it was helpful, and honestly, like I was like my brother hated it. I have a brother who's like 16 months older than me, and he was like loathed it. So like there wasn't really enough room for us both to loathe it. So I was like, I'm the one, I'm chill. I'll make it work, you know? And we lived, but it wasn't like crazy. We didn't like move to Germany or something. It was just
Yeah.
like all around California and Atlanta and like a few different places. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny, like going from that, like basically straight into touring. You know, it's like the whole my whole life has been like bopping around.
Yeah.
Only recently have we had some time to like actually stay home and like learn how to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really nice.
You I mean, we just mentioned changing schools. Let's talk about school. Tell me about the song that reminds you of your time at school, please, Brian.
Yes, I will. And that this was briefly after that. And thank goodness I had like a mix CD of some kind of cool songs to go and talk to my cool neighbor who would play music with his garage open across the street, um, who was very into Danzig and the Misfits and Judas Priest. And he had an older brother who had like a really crass punk band, and he was really good at guitar, and he taught me how to play. And the first song that we played together was Mother, Danzig. And we would do like Raining Blood, Slayer, and that he like kind of pushed me like into that world for a while. And it's so funny because he was like the punkest kid I've ever met. Like I remember crazy things we did as a kid, and then I ran into him like a few years ago, and he is like a banker. And like when he met me, I was like playing like soccer, you know, and
Yeah.
he, man, we switched.
how how was school? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, not yeah, kind of. I was like a loner, you know. Like I would usually find that's like my way of getting through all the moving was I'd find like one person who was down to be like best friends, and then we would just like go eat lunch in the bleachers, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, had a series of people like that that were like awesome, like most interesting, like bizarre, really close friendships. So that kind of got me through. But I actually tested out of high school when I was like a year early, because I was like, honestly, I was just bored.
Yeah.
And I like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I'm going to, and I went to college early, and I didn't finish that either. I went to 4 different colleges. I was like, just I was
Yeah.
restless kid, I would say.
Did you have any idea when you was at school as to what you wanted to do?
You know, when I was in school, I think I didn't really have, I had like kind of a norm, like a, you know, again, in contrast to my bandmate, I had like a very like kind of suburban um experience, and I didn't have any role models of people who, I didn't know anyone who was doing an artist, you know,
Yeah.
and I knew that that was something I was interested in, but I don't think I thought it was like realistic or possible. So I thought like, okay, maybe I'll like, you know, work in like, maybe I'll work at a record label, or maybe I'll work at like a film production place and
Yeah.
like do something that they tell me to do, you know, and I can be like close to the action, but like the actually doing it is like too scary. I don't know what that means, you know. So I thought like I love movies. Maybe I want to work in movies. Maybe they'll find somewhere they could put me. And um, you know, I kind of like studied that in college and had some goofy internships, and I thought that was what I was just gonna try to like get as close to the action as I could,
Yeah.
you know. And then music just like kind of came out of left field. Like I think when Maddie and I got together and started writing songs for this band, I think it was the first song that she'd ever written, and maybe the second or third that I'd ever written before was that "Go Outside" for that, which is a song that was really important for us in our band. And so yeah, so I guess it was just like in there waiting for somebody to
Yeah.
open it up, you know.
Tell me the first song you remember getting from a record store, please.
You know, I struggled with this too because I have a terrible memory, but I remember vividly buying "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket" from a rest stop on tape. I remember that we were driving and I was bored, and my parents said you can buy what something to listen to, you know. And I bought this, and I remember even thinking that it was weird that it was on tape. I think we were in a rental car and it like only had a tape machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't used to getting tapes, but I was like, tape, whatever. And I was so excited to listen to it. And then I was like so mortified. I remember I knew there was like a few moments where like when he says like on this song, the anthem part two, the first song, when he says like if we're fucked up, you're to blame. And I knew he was gonna say the F word. So like I'd be like, Mom, like right, right when he says the F word, like I'd try to distract them, you know. I was like, I need to be able to listen to this. Like, and but I knew they'd get mad if like I had to get into all this stuff. But yeah, definitely like, you know, lived for a long time in San Diego, and so did Madeline and Blink-182 are like heroes there. You know,
Yeah.
we'd see them driving around, we'd stop them basically, you know. And they a couple of my friends of mine got arrested for like breaking into his house, Tom DeLonge.
Fuck, man.
They were like, it was so funny because when it happened at the time, they were like, he was really not cool about it. And at the time,
Oh,
I'm like,
wow, really?
that's lame. I'm like, what? Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Kids come into your house.
Oh, I love the fact that you just thought, what's their problem, man?
Yeah.
Why cool about that? Breaking into someone's home.
Yeah. But you know, and I actually listened to it and I was like, man, actually that I can't get away from this influence, you know, like I even hearing like that melody, the na 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 na, I was like, man, that sounds like the first Cults record, like the kind of like schoolyard melody where it's almost like a kind of like teasing little kid thing. And the pop punk is, I'm a bit, you know, it's in there. I'm trying to keep it caged, but it will never go away.
But I think as long as, you know, them pop sensibilities, whether you get that from whatever you're listening to, if there's like that kind of core of like a pop melody, it's going to put you in good stead because like it's such a fast track to people's core, isn't it? Like a really solid, like infectious pop melody. And like I'm Blink, you know, a pop band. You mentioned the other Nirvana. Nevermind for me, it's one of the greatest pop records ever made. It's like every single verse and chorus is so full of pop hooks and melody. And
You were a little bit luckier than me in your youth era.
Oh, I've been like running my own venue for 30 years. So yeah, and I do DJ it quite regular and did do for many years. So don't worry, I've put my work in playing Blink 182 over the years as well. And it's
We're playing the
amazing.
same day with them in Lollapalooza. I've never seen them. I'm gonna go see them. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
It's crazy. Like people still adore that band, don't they? It's like
Yeah.
the size of the tours they do
Honestly,
now.
they really like they have a strong similarity to like or like they have a strong claim to something close to like American Beatles,
Yeah.
because their sense of humor is so elemental to the band. Like when I just watched Get Back for the second time. It's so amazing. I feel like I need to watch it like every time we're like putting out a record because it's so reassuring to watch like the Beatles at the height of their career be like, so what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, like it's like, oh, so everyone has to do this,
Yeah.
but
And that
yeah,
is so reassuring, isn't it? Because you do, you know, when you're making music with your mates in a band and you're making music and you're constantly gonna have doubts about is this as good as the last thing and things like that and like right how are we going to sort of start this album but you just presume when you think of like the Beatles that like well they've got it down. They don't ever doubt themselves. They're the fucking Beatles. And it's like,
right.
but no, they're sitting there scratching their heads. They're sitting there thinking, oh, I've got this, but I don't want to piss him off because he's going to get pissed at me if I say this. And it's like, oh, the Beatles are just like every other band. Like,
Yeah,
and it was mad to see that.
it's crazy. And then the thing that really like helped me too is realizing like, because you go make music for like a year or 2 years or whatever, and I've learned to really like cherish that time. But then you finish music, and then for like 6 months you become almost like a marketing executive or something,
Yeah.
and that's like kind of where they were. They're like, how are we gonna like get people to give a shit about this,
Yeah.
and you're the Beatles, you don't need to worry about it. But and then
Everyone gives a shit.
yeah, and then like but then like you hear the ideas they're getting like from their record label, like they're like, we're gonna do it in Morocco with 10,000 Arabs, and it's like, or like Libya, I think they were saying, and it's like, then they just like they're like, no, I don't think that's it, and in the end they just like go do it on the roof, and it's like the
Yeah.
best, or it has to come from you. It's like you can't outsource it, like it all, and it's accepting that because at a certain point you're just like, can someone else just like make my album cover? I don't deal with this, and but the answer is like, if you want it to be any good, no, because like it's all together,
Yeah.
but
100%.
watching them be like, what the hell are we gonna do? It's super fun. But
Brian, I want to talk about clubbing. And I mean, New York clubbing, it's pretty decent there, right? Um, Tell me the song that soundtrack your years clubbing.
I mean, I don't have a ton of experience clubbing, unfortunately. I'm actually feeling like New York has been like uh pretty down in the dumps um musically for the last maybe 7 years, 8 years. Like it feels like everyone moved to LA, in the like late 2000 teens, and it's been kind of harsh times. But I'm feeling like maybe I hear a lot of people talking about like raves and stuff out here now, and I'm hoping that something really cool musically is going to come out of that. But I think it will. But for me, the Justice was like 2007, 2000, was that when it was? 2009, 2007, just totally unavoidable. And the song Stress by Justice is like, I still listen to it all the time. I'm like shocked when I listen to that album, like the amount of work that went into like all those little minuscule edits. Like they say they made it in GarageBand, and I kind of believe them, but it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
as a music maker, I'm like, how long did this take you? And when it takes you that long, how do you keep the such a good vibe?
Yeah,
You know, like if I was working on music that was that detailed, at a certain point it would become really tedious out of like necessity. But all the songs have these like amazing rhythmic moves and like little tiny edits and chops and fills, and but they stay so like up and groovy, and that's just like got to be one of the greatest dance records of all time. And
absolutely.
it's yeah, so I'm grateful. But also the other one that I thought about, which is like maybe just been done to death, is MGMT, man. You know,
Yeah.
like that was, could you ever go anywhere without hearing Time to Pretend and everyone on the dance floor going like, oh,
And it was the time when, like with Electric Feel and Kids and stuff like that, it was all of them French producers were remixing everything,
oh
and
yeah,
like and it made, really danceable music even more fucking danceable. And like, and Justice, the amount of remixes that Justice done that was so good. Like, and yeah, I think that certainly in London, like, with clubs like Trash and stuff like that, really, really kind of just changed indie clubs. Indie clubs become, far more danceable. And you'd see all of the stuff like Justice and Ed Banger and Sebastian and all of these like producers doing these incredible like work with all of the, the biggest indie bands that were coming out then.
it is interesting because it's like that was right, like kind of like the end of an era of like the kind of like dominance of indie culture, or like indie sleaze or whatever they want to call it now, like where people were like excited to know about something that was new or rare, you
Mm.
know, and that was like a cultural identity, was like, have you heard this new thing? And then when I feel like when Spotify came out and it was so easy to access anything, that stopped having like an allure, and like the kind of overwhelming access to music like pushed everyone back to pop music, because they were like, I don't know, it's all crazy. I just listen to Beyonce, you know, and like that was like the dominant kind of attitude of the 2000 teens, was like, uh I used to listen to this obscure like Ariel Pink music, and now I listen to Katy Perry, you
Yeah,
know. And I think we're only like just now recovering from that. And like
that's
seems
really
like we're reaching
interesting.
kind of like a balance where people like, are starting to new band. I didn't see a lot of new bands break out in that time, and now I'm starting to see that like bands coming out and doing really well. And bands like, yeah, I don't know, I've been listening to Fontaine's DC and I'm like, this band rocks. And gives me hope that like
Yeah,
there could be like people playing music and everyone could be really excited about it.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to take you home for the next track,
All
Brian.
right.
Can you tell me a favorite song from an artist from your home county, please?
Yes. Well, I was born in the San Francisco area, and lived around San Jose. I went back to San Francisco for college. And I think one of the great San Francisco bands is, and certainly massively influential in our band, is Deerhoof. And the Milkman record was one of those records I discovered like late high school. And that first track, like that, the riff is still something we play at like sound check all the time. And I saw them play at like a like there's this like kind of punk venue on the uh campus of the college in San Diego, and they every year they try to like bulldoze it to the ground, but like people go out there and like hold hands. And like I saw them play there, and the drummer is like so amazing, and he was sitting on like a milk crate and just like going crazy. And I was like, man, like it's there's such an original sound, and there's so much like, it's almost like kind of like postmodern rock in a way that I really like appreciate, where there's so many references within even one song, where they'll like be like, all right, we're AC/DC. All right, now we're like Pink Floyd. Now we're like this, and they're just like bopping around, but
Yeah,
it's all like unified by those really amazing, like childlike vocals that are so unique and take you into like a different world. And it's also really like emotional music, you know, and I don't know, it feels like true to the moment of when it came out. And it always like kind of brings me back to especially that kind of like San Francisco like rock culture, you know. I feel like they nailed it, and they're still nailing it. They're amazing.
Fantastic. For your last track, this is the point where you get to tell the listeners of Off the Beaten Track about a song that you think they may not know that you would like them to
Yes.
go and listen to.
Yes. Well, I'm always repping this. I've been repping this for 14 years, but um, the record that kind of started everything for this, well, the record that started everything for this band was like a John Waters compilation that we listened to that was like his like music that I would play on a date. And it was like a bunch of weirdo songs and that were all kind of in the 60s, 50s vein. And that was like got the ball moving. And then what really like sped it up was
Sorry, so I've got to stop you there. You had a John Waters album that you would play when you took people on dates.
I know he put it out. It's music. It's like a Valentine's Day album that he it's a compilation he made of
Right, because I was thinking, fuck, man, that's dark.
yeah.
John Waters on a first date. People were like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck this guy.
No, it's amazing. You should check it out. It's got like some of the songs like it's like John Prine and uh Jet Boy, Jet Girl, like it's good. But okay, but then there's an album called The ABCs of Kid Soul that was released by this label called the Numero Group that does like compilations of like rare and forgotten music. And this is like a compilation that's based around like all the music that came out once after the Jackson 5. So they were like, you know, the Jackson 5 come out, massive #1 hits. Every like failed musician who's got a kid is like, okay, now it's you. And they all start recording these like kid songs, you know, and there's so much of it. The album's like 30 tracks long and they're all amazing. But this one, Time by a young man called Otis the Third, that I read his dad was a musician named Otis, so I guess his grandpa maybe was too. But it's like the most amazing song. I found this song and Rainbow Chaser because I've been lately like training my algorithm on Spotify. Like I read something about this where you like make a playlist of your favorite songs, right? And then you go and you listen to like your algorithmic things that they recommend you. You take all the best ones, you move them onto that playlist, and then you play it. And then you just keep doing that. And then eventually, like now when I open my algorithm, I find the most amazing songs. And both these ones, like when I heard this song for the first time, I was like almost like I was like, this is imaginary. Like I'm imagining this. This is like exactly what I would want in a song. It's like the like innocence and like humor and melancholy, and it sounds like Motown Pink Floyd, you know, like I'm like, this is amazing. And I have like it's like the banner track on that playlist of stuff that I like
Yeah.
play to remind the algorithm what I like. and it's really
Love that.
working, you know. But what really gets me is in this song, he's like, it's like a song about time passing and like different seasons in life being like good and bad. But when he's talking about like a good season, he's like, with someone you love on a trip to Disneyland. I'm like, man, this kid's like singing like melancholy wistfulness about Disneyland. I'm like, I'm sold, you know.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, look, Brian, we've been speaking about so many other people's music. I think, you know, we should be talking about yours now. And so tell me what's going down. What's happening?
We are about to put out an album. That will be our 5th album. It's called To the Ghosts. We've put out 2 tracks so far. I think another one's coming very soon. And yeah, we're really excited. I mean, I think more than any album so far, we really think it's like the best one, the closest that we've gotten to the idea of what we wanted to do when we started the band, you know. And the all the first record would be like forever like holy, because it was just like explosion, you know,
Yeah.
of like something that an idea that we had. And then every other record since then has felt like kind of like an experiment within the world of it. And this is maybe the first one that feels like authentically us, with the kind of experience and knowledge of what we're doing, that we can't do it, you know.
Yeah.
It was like when we finally were able to kind of relax and just like be ourselves. So excited to see how it's received.
And gigs?
Gigs, yes, we're going on tour at the end of July for a month on our own, and then we go on tour for a month with Vampire Weekend, who are old buddies of ours, and then we go on tour in Europe in December, or no, November.
You,
And
you coming to the UK?
we're coming to London, we're going to Manchester, we're going as far as Poland. So we're gonna be I think right now we have like 60 shows on the books before the end of the year. So we're gonna be playing a lot of music, but that's great with us because, as you know, the world has been kind of crazy and we haven't had that many chances to play music in the last
Yeah,
4 years.
absolutely.
So we're ready to go.
And if people want to come and catch shows and want to find out about releases and tours and such, where's the best place to do that?
Yes. Well, all of our stuff should be on our website, which is cults.com, but also that's our Instagram handle and all the stuff. Cults.
Well, Brian, if it's cool with you, when we drop this episode, we'll tag you in it so people can go and find you if they haven't done so already.
Awesome.
Brian, it's been so nice talking records with you, man. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
I
coming
love
on
it. Yeah.
today.
Thank you. I love this opportunity to go down musical memory lane. It's been educational for me.
Wonderful. I'm going to press stop, but don't go anywhere.
Okay.